In today's lesson, we are going to extend our knowledge of solving equations when there are variables on both sides to expanding it where there are also parentheses. So we look at using our knowledge of solving with parentheses and combining it with our knowledge of solving with variables on both sides. So the first thing we want to do here, we can't just move the variables together to one side because they are within a parenthesis. And if we think about order of operations, we need to get rid of those brackets and deal with them first. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the distributive property, and we're going to distribute the value in front of the parenthesis into it. So 0.3 times 3 is 0.9, and then 0.3 times negative 5 is negative 1.5, and we have an r there, equals 0.5 times 2 is 1, and then 0.5 times negative r is negative 0.5 r. So we've just used the distributive property to eliminate the parentheses. And now that we're at this particular point, now we can move the variables together on one side. And it does not matter whether you move them to the left-hand side or the right-hand side. So in this case, most people like to move them to the left-hand side. That's where they're most comfortable. You don't have to do this, but that's where we're going to move this one. So what I want to do is I want to move that over to the left-hand side. We have to use inverse operations to do this. So the inverse of a minus 0.5 is to add 0.5, r. And what we do to one side, we must do to the other. So what we will have now is we will have 0.9 minus 1r, negative 0.5, negative 1.5 plus 0.5 is negative 1, equals 1. And then negative 0.5r plus 0.5r is just 0. So now our goal is to get that r by itself. So we need to move that 0.9. Right now it's a positive 0.9. If there's no sign out in front, it means it's positive. And the inverse of adding is subtracting. So I'm going to subtract negative 0.9 from both sides. So what we will have is 0.9 subtract 0.9 is 0. So we're going to have negative 1r equals 1 minus 0.9 is going to give us 0.1. We are almost done. And a lot of people will make the mistake and think that we're done at this point because we've got the r by itself. It's just a 1r. But it's a negative 1r, and we always want our variable to be positive. So that's a negative 1 times r. The inverse of multiplication is division. So we need to divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is just 1. So we're left with r equals 0.1 divided by negative 1 is just negative 0.1. So there's our value for r. So when you have parentheses, eliminate the parentheses using the distributive property. Then, because we have a variable on both sides, combine them together on one side, and then use inverse operations to solve for the variable. So if we look at this next one here, again, there's variables on both sides, and there are parentheses. So we need to start first by getting rid of the parentheses. So we're going to distribute. Negative 3 times 2.5 will be negative 7.5. Negative 3 times 3.5z will give us negative 10.5z. Distribute the 2 into the bracket. 2 times negative 2.5z will give us negative 5z. 2 times negative 5.35 will give us negative 10.7. So again, choose which side you would like to move your z's to. It does not matter. You can go left or right. We'll choose to go left again. So what we want to do is we need to move that minus 5z. The inverse of subtraction is addition. So we are going to add 5z to both sides. So we are going to have negative 7.5 minus negative 10.5 plus 5 is 5.5. So we'll have minus 5.5z equals The negative 5z plus 5z cancels out. There's nothing left. So we will just have minus 10.7. Now our goal is to get z by itself, so we need to move that minus 7.5. The inverse of subtraction is addition. So we add 7.5 to both sides. Negative 7.5 plus 7.5 is 0. It's gone. So we have minus 5.5z equals negative 10.7 plus 7.5 gives you negative 3.2. And so now we want to get the z by itself. The negative 5.5 is being multiplied to z. The inverse of multiplication is division. So we divide by negative 5.5. We get 1 over here, so we just have z equals negative 3.2 divided by negative 5.5 gives us 0.5 and then 8.1 repeating. So z equals 0.5, 8.1, 8.1, 8.1, etc. So just to review again with parentheses, use the distributive property to remove the parenthesis. Combine your variables together on one side, either the left or the right, and then use inverse operations to solve for the variable.